Hello, trading is closed on October 16th, 2019. We'll go over our calls. We said once we took this high out early, lower prices should print, which they did. Look for the pattern with the early high, and we got it. Tomorrow's pattern has the early low. Doesn't mean you won't gap up first. And this target was out of range, we add it to the list. Had an ultimate buy signal here from MEJT, and that worked. Here we had an ultimate sell signal and a regular sell. We actually got the minimum immediately. These rallies were doomed to failure by the rules of the system, and we don't really have to get any more than this. But almost always we do. I've been following these ultimate sells for years. I think there was one in all those years that didn't deliver. There's only one that delivered less than this. So the odds are pretty heavy. We're going to undercut this low, but there's no requirement it happen tomorrow, even though usually it happens sooner rather than later. Usually and always aren't the same thing. Well, here's what we said. Let me put this in our correct color. We said that the pattern usually rallies to a high at the close or it drops in a straight line. Well, neither one of those things happened. And tomorrow's open is a surrogate for today's close. So if we get one of the normal patterns, we're going to get a straight move up or a straight move down. And it's since I don't trade overnight, I'm not going to bother guessing which direction, but the pattern calls for a gap and prompt move outside the day's range. They don't have to be in the same direction. Well, here's our wave count, and it still is pretty, but it still isn't confirmed. If we had started dropping rather than piddling around here, I'd have more confidence. It's a beautiful count. The fibs all work, and if it's right, practically any count I come up with says the same thing. We're going to have one more drop. Then this corrective stage you've been in for months is going to be over, and then we're going to have another impulsive rally. But as far as where the consolidation ends and how far you're going to drop, this is a candidate, and I think it's a good candidate, but it's not the only candidate. And once we start dropping, once we're certain of the location of this point blue B, then you can have more accuracy in figuring out how low you're going to drop, if that's even the right count. So here's what I have. Thursday's pattern has the early low. We could gap up first. Mixed signals. We gapped down, hit a lower low, closed over all the lows. It's positive unless we take the lows out early. Pattern didn't close near the high. It's negative unless we take out today's highs early. Tomorrow's opens is a surrogate for today's close. The odds favor a gap. Prompt move outside the day's range. As I said, doesn't have to be in the same direction. We almost always get more out of the MEJT signals than they've delivered so far, but there's no requirement it happens tomorrow. And because we got the minimum, there really is no requirement they deliver at all. It's just as more likely than not that at some point we're going to undercut these lows, and it's more likely than not that they'll be sooner rather than later. It should be obvious by tomorrow's open if I'm right about the gap, whether it happens tomorrow or not. If we do start dropping with conviction, I'd consider us to be in wave blue C down. I'm still looking for one more drop followed by a rally to new highs, and it's just a question of getting confirmation of where the drop begins from. And that's today's call.